So when I cat my sample.txt, this is the output: GHI, EGK, ABC, ABC, CDE, CDE, and EFG. Now, when I want only the unique values, I don't want the duplicate values out of it. So here you could observe here ABC had been repeated twice, CDE had been repeated twice. So in order to eliminate the repeated values, that means duplicates, I use something called UNIQ, which would remove my duplicates. So unique is basically to remove the duplicate values. And I have something called sort command. Okay, in place of unique, if I use something called sort, okay, my actual cat would give me this output. Yeah, this is my output, but when I sort it, it had got sorted based on the alphabetical order and had given me my output. So sort, as the name signifies, it can be used to sort the output of one command. Unique is basically to find out the unique values that are present in a file. Pretty straightforward. Okay, let's look at the uses of backtick. Okay, so when I say the uses of backtick is something like sequence, echo sequence 1 to 10. Yeah, in order to execute a command, Unix command, use something called backticks in your shell scripting. Okay, the backtick is something which you can find just below the escape symbol, which would be an just below the tilde. It would be something. It would look something like this. It is basically used to execute a Unix command, okay, in your command line when you are writing some shell scripts. So when I use sequence of 1 to 10, yeah, so my sequence of 1 to 10, okay, it would give me 1 to 10 itself, but when you are writing something in shell scripts, this basically can be used to execute something in your command line. Backtick can be used. Okay, that's the basic uses of sequence. Now let's look at the uses of VI editor. So basically, why are we discussing all these Linux commands is, like we discussed earlier, these are pretty much useful for Hadoop installation as well as HDFS commands. And why these VI commands are useful is basically to configure your configuration file, to type something into your configuration files, or to write some workflows that are related to Hadoop ecosystem components. For all this purpose, you need an editor, basically an editor. So in order to have an editor, so I'm explaining something called VI editor, which is inbuilt in Linux. So when I wanted to create a file where something called create.txt, I use something called vi space the file name, which would create a file, which would open a file. Basically vi space create.txt will open a file which is called create.txt. Now that if you type something in your keyboard, okay, if you type something in your keyboard, until you type I, nothing will be inserted, because you could see here no lines in the buffer, and I cannot insert anything until I type in until I type in I. So in order to have your VI editor to enter into an insert mode, you just got to type something called escape and space I. Escape and I will take you to an insert mode. See here, the mode has changed. When I type in escape again, my insert mode is gone. To come back to the insert mode, I'm just typing escape I. So then I can insert anything, I can type in anything into my into my file as a content. Okay, so basically one thing we got to remember here is to enter into an insert mode, we got to type something called escape and I, which would take me to insert mode. In order to delete a character present in the contents, so I'll type something called escape first. If it is in insert mode, if you could see here, it's still in insert mode. I'll have to type something called escape, which will be bringing out of which will bring me out of insert mode. And if I wanted to delete something called D, I'm using my arrows to just move left, I'm just using that. I'll type something called X, which would delete me D. If I wanted to just further remove K, I'll again type X. X is a symbol which would be used to delete a particular line, particular character. If you wanted to delete the complete line, you can use something called DD. DD is the command that can be used to delete the complete line. Okay, so if your last operation is something which you did by mistake, okay, so if you wanted to undo your operation, so I'll type escape shift U. I'll type something called escape shift U. Shift U will undo your previous whatever you had done. Okay, so my line had come, though I had deleted it. I'm deleting. I'm using something called U or shift U. Both will do. Okay, when I'm using U, I got my results back. So basically, in order to open a file, we use something called vi space file name, and in order to enter into the insert mode, escape I will take me to the insert mode. In order to delete some character, I use something called X, which would delete me the character. If you wanted to delete a complete line, I would use something called DD, which would delete the complete line. If you wanted to undo your operation, I'll type U, which will undo my operation. Yeah, if I am at something called if I'm at first place, F is my first character. If I wanted to go to this particular location, that means the last character. So what I would do is escape again, shift dollar. Shift dollar will take me to the last character present in a file. Shift dollar will take me to the last character that present in a file. And again, if I wanted to go to the first location, first place, I'll type something called escape again, shift caret symbol. Caret symbol is something which is present in your letter 6 in your keyboard, and I type escape shift 6 will take me to the first character of my particular line. Okay, in order to insert a new blank line just below the current line, I would type a single O. It would insert a new blank line, which would be, it will again take us to the insert mode. So you can type your commands. Okay, just to insert a new line above the cursor, I would use something called shift O, which would insert a new line above the cursor. Previously we had used O to insert a new line below the cursor. We are using something called shift O to insert a new line above the cursor. These are two important things we got to remember. Okay, so enough of VI commands, basic VI commands these are. So in order to save a file which we had typed in, we use something called WQ. WQ is something which can be used to save the contents that are present in a file. Okay, so my file is saved. When I reopen it, whatever contents you had typed in, those commands will be there. That contents will be there. If I wanted, suppose I'm typing something, but at the end I realize that these contents I don't need it, so I don't want to save my file. I'll simply type escape :Q exclamatory, which will save my file without any changes. Previously I used something called escape :WQ, which would save the contents of my file. If I don't want to save the contents of my file, I use something called :Q exclamatory, which will not save the contents of my file. These are again some beautiful basic VI commands that can be useful in order to do some operations in a file in Unix. This is pretty much important. Yeah, so in this Linux tutorial we had discussed on many things, basically what is Linux is, what is Unix is, and then what is a shell. We had discussed about processes, and we have discussed about many commands of Unix like ls with lot of options. We have discussed about something called cd, commands like pwd, which would give me present working directory, which command, tar, gzip, untar, gunzip, touch command, find, pipe command, backtick, grep, sed, awk, unique and sort. After which we had discussed about all the VI editor commands which would help us to open a file and type the contents and close the file by saving or without saving. Yeah, so that's it for the Linux introduction. Hope you had enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much. Bye bye.